Welcome one, welcome all to Pit Road Productions for the first round of a brand new series for us. It's the Niftylift Sportscar Series. 6 fantastic rounds of 45-minute GT3 racing. And of course, we start things off here at the lovely Silverstone circuit for the first of those 45-minute races. My name is Reese Gardner in the lead position, Daniel Zippy Salmon alongside me in the commentary box, and also producing behind the scenes here on the Pit Road Productions YouTube channel. Well, Zippy, Silverstone is a track that I always enjoy watching GT3 racing at, and we have got a solid field of 10 cars ready to go here for 45 minutes worth of fantastic racing.
Absolutely, Reese. I gotta say, it's great to have the Niftylift series come on over to Pit Road Productions. Certainly, we're getting an absolutely fantastic collection of GT3 going, but this time it's going to be fixed, ladies and gentlemen. Fixed setup certainly is very much a test of the driver, not just of the setup skills, and definitely a good set of tracks along the roster. Actually, speaking of the tracks, Reese, let's take a quick peek.
Yes, absolutely. We've got a short turnaround time before the race is set to go off. I think that might be the wrong schedule, Zippy.
Nope, it's there.
There we go.
That's a good one.
That's the one. That's the one. Okay, right. Okay, so we started off the season in March, and then moving on to Silverstone for round 7. Starting off, of course, at Daytona and Indianapolis, then Watkins Glen, Red Bull Ring, Villeneuve, and Le Mans. We are, in fact, at the midpoint of the season, with Silverstone forming round 7 here on the 14th of April. Fuji, Spa, Monza, Road Atlanta, and Sebring to end off the season. It's pretty much your who's who of fantastic tracks across the world.
Absolutely, certainly. I did spy Road Atlanta in there, so we may have to indeed get Rob to come in and produce for that day, because we know, ladies and gentlemen, I have a soft spot for Road Atlanta. But right now, these drivers are out doing some qualifying laps. Actually, let's take a quick peek at some of these drivers and see Drew Trader out on the about and the move.
So, obviously, setting their times here for the grid for the 45 minutes still to come. And Drew has been the pace setter thus far in qualifying, but could only manage 3rd place in practice. In fact, the quickest driver in practice was Jean McLuhan, and it looks like has managed to grab that first position right there in the Porsche 911. Now, good variety of cars from what I can see. We have Porsche up the front, Drew, of course, in the Corvette, Ian Carney in another Porsche. We have Kyle Shelton driving a McLaren, Kalman Giori in the Honda NSX, Luis Rios in another McLaren, and it's another NSX in the hands of Tim Fiedler. Ferrari for Rui Farina Pereira, Joseph Darnell in the Audi, and Adam Capps is our race administrator. He has set a lap time in practice, but I can't tell what car he's driving.
I can tell you he is indeed in the McLaren race, certainly the best of the bunch. I've got to be honest, the field is incredibly eclectic here, only missing a couple, the BMW and indeed the Lamborghini, and actually the Mercedes as well missing. So ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get involved in the GT3 Fixed series, by all means reach out to these guys. We will happily put you in contact. Paddock Pauls, thank you for joining the chat as well. Great to have you on board. But Reese, maybe you take a little bit of an onboard lap with one of these gentlemen if possible.
Yeah, indeed. We only have a couple of minutes left in qualifying, so let's go on board with Luis Rios here, starting on the hangar straight here. Of course, this is towards the end of the lap. We'll continue on through, coming into Stowe. Got to make sure that you get on the brakes around the 100 marker for this corner in GT3 machinery. It's a very fearsome turn, this one. There's pit entry. You'll be able to cut quite a bit out of the racetrack if you manage to nail pit entry into Vale and Club, and turning solid right onto the start-finish straight. Probably could go a little bit wider there to widen the run onto the start-finish stretch. Then you come through turn 1 and 2. These are incredible corners, these. Abbey is the first one. Got to try and nail the turn in, then Farm bending to the left before we get down to the arena section. Hard right hairpin, but it's faster than you think. Use it to set up here for Village, which is the slowest corner on the circuit. And then hard out on the throttle through this flat-out left-hander onto the Wellington Straight, which formed one of the runways when Silverstone was a World War II military airfield. Coming down into Brooklands. This is a fun one here. Tightens up very late on. You got to try and use this corner to set up for Luffield. Long, never-ending, more than 180 degrees of direction change. Use all the curb you can on the exit, and then flat out through the original final corner of the circuit, Woodcote. This is the original start-finish straight, or was for a while when Formula One raced here from the 50s through to the 2000s. Then Cops, the famous original first corner, and then through to the S's here. This is a magnificent run through Maggots, then through Beckett's here, this left-hander. You're slowing down the whole time, and then Chapel, the final corner to bring you back onto the Hangar Straight to complete where we started that lap.
Absolutely fantastic stuff there from my comrade, Mr. Reese Gardner. Ladies and gentlemen, very seasoned commentator and indeed a little bit of a cameraman as well, unbeknownst to me, but doing an absolutely fantastic job. Certainly Silverstone, I can't say that I know too many people out that way other than actually the Twitch streamer Billy O. Irish. So ladies and gentlemen, if you want to watch that gentleman, he's certainly into a Porsche Cup. But just as they're bringing it to the end of qualification, let's take a little bit of a quick message from one of our sponsors.
Niftylift is a manufacturer of aerial work platforms.
A very innovative, green-conscious company.
No other manufacturer makes anything quite like it.
Located in Greer, South Carolina.
We handle all of North America, where we house parts and machines, service backup, marketing, sales support.
Definitely some very, very cool gear indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, I've had the pleasure of driving some very similar machinery, but nothing quite as cool as that. But absolutely fantastic stuff there, as I believe that does indeed bring qualifying to an end. We're going to be getting ready to go hot. The grid just currently coming in the next few minutes or so. So I got to say, certainly definitely one of the smaller fields here so far. But you know what? All it means is that this series can do nothing but grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing where the series is going to go in the next few rounds here. We do have a little minute or so before qualifying actually ends and we can get into the grid. So, Zippy, I think it's a good time for us to thank the sponsors of this series. Of course, Niftylift, the title sponsor, one of the largest manufacturers of mobile elevating work platforms, or cherry pickers, in Europe, and it sells throughout Europe, the USA, the Middle East, the Far East, Australia, and South Africa. I've probably been touring around my home city of Perth and seen a couple of Niftylift ones myself. Yeah, they got years of designing, of experience designing machines for the rental industry, and through investment in staff, manufacturing equipment, and technology, they maintain an ongoing commitment to their customers and an ongoing commitment to sim racing as well, it seems. So thank you very much, Niftylift, for sponsoring the series. Of course, we've got to thank Elite Entertainment as well. Are you ready to turn your event into an unforgettable experience? At Elite Entertainment, they bring superior quality that keeps the dance floor packed, whether it's a wedding, corporate event, private parties, karaoke, or music bingo at your local venues. Their professional DJs know how to set the perfect vibe. They cover Western North Carolina and Upstate South Carolina. So book now and let Elite Entertainment make your event memorable. Just a few seconds to go before we get into the grid here for round 6 of the Niftylift Sportscar Series. And, well, it's a 10-car grid, but 10 very talented drivers, I'm sure. Jean McClure is going to start on the pole with Drew Trader alongside him on the front row. Ian Carney is going to start alongside Kyle Shelton. And Kalman Giori rounds out the top 5 with Tim Fiedler joining him on the third row. Luis Rios in 7th alongside Rui Farina Pereira. Joseph Darnell, last driver to set a qualifying time. And Adam Capps, not setting a time in qualifying, starting at the rear of our 10-car grid.
Well, certainly it's something that we've seen a little bit of a pattern of, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly when it comes to the league admins, often they're so busy doing the league they don't actually get to do as much driving. But certainly Adam Capps has now taken to the grid. Just waiting on Jean McClone and indeed Luis Rios, who actually, you can blame Louis actually for us coming here to the Niftylift Sportscar Series, and indeed I guess to Adam for taking us on. Certainly we are hearing actually a little bit with some fake broadcasters going around. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're unsure, by all means, just give us a message. We are indeed the real deal. You've seen us here on camera. You've seen the amount of shows that we're absolutely producing. Some weeks even having 6-7 shows per week, ladies and gentlemen. So certainly we'd be absolutely honored to get you on board. Definitely reach out if you'd like to do that. pitroadproductionsinc@gmail.com. If not, leave a comment on the YouTube video and we'll be happy to get in contact. But Reese, I've got to say, GT3's at Silverstone, that's a pretty gnarly combination for a debut broadcast.
Yeah, certainly is. But, you know, I think, if anything, for me, it's one of the default things that, you know, it's one of those things that's always in the back of your head that you can pull out whenever you want. GT3 at Silverstone. It's one of the most famous, most popular circuits in the world, and the most popular car class on iRacing, full stop. So you're guaranteed a race. You're guaranteed that all the drivers know what they're doing, and you're practically guaranteed for a fun time. Just a little short moment before we pull away behind the iRacing pace car. Of course, AI controlled here, and no full course yellows to my knowledge in this series. So we'll find our way through to the final couple of corners and get this race started off.
Well, I can tell you that Jean McClure has decided to jump from the pits, ladies and gentlemen. So I think he may be trying to do a last to first challenge. Certainly in terms of iRating, he is the king of the crop in this field, so maybe looking for an additional set of challenges. Certainly we have seen him in some of our other shows as well, so a huge welcome back there to the number 52 car. But right now it's going to be Drew Trader who's going to be controlling your race start.
Here we go then. Drew bringing us away as Jean is already in the car, waiting for the call of the green flag. It's a short run to the start-finish line here at Silverstone, but the green flag flies and we are away for round 7 of the Niftylift Sportscar Series. And it's an all-right start from Drew Trader, covers the lead into turn 1, and Ian Carney keeping Kyle Shelton behind for the time being, seeing Jean McClure getting out of the pits just behind these guys as they come through the opening corners in the arena section. It is a battle of the mid-engine cars behind as it's very wide for Tim Fiedler. He gets off the curb there. Looked like there might have also been a problem there for Kalman Giori as well, as he's going wide to allow Luis Rios by down the Wellington Straight. So already a top 2 breakaway with Trader and Carney fighting Porsche versus Corvette at the front.
Well, certainly, Drew Trader very much putting his foot down. He is indeed pulling away. Already pulled away about a half a second gap, but then there is a little bit more space between the Porsche and the McLaren. Actually, a couple of McLarens in a row. We've got McLaren taking up 3rd, 4th, and 6th in this field right now, but the closest battle does appear to be back here. You got Luis Rios, Cameron Glorby, and Adam Capps all going for it. Actually, there's a whole train of cars, ladies and gentlemen. Incredible battling so far.
Yeah, this is a great pack of cars here, and right at the end of it is Jean McClure with Joseph Darnell dropping off the rear of the grid somewhat. Hasn't had the best first lap, but see the pace difference here. Remember, Jean was the fastest driver in qualifying, so he's going to be a lot more aggressive on the entry to these corners, and you have to be aggressive to maintain mid-corner speed for the run onto the hangar straight. What a draft train this is going to be for the likes of Fiedler and McLuhan.
Well, certainly it is definitely a higher speed track, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly you got to go for it. As it looks like Sean McLean looking to put a nose in, not quite close enough, but that Porsche very much has to be dominant on the braking if you want to make it pass. But right now it looks like we've got a battle going on. It's Ferrari versus Acura. It's Rui versus Tim. Farina versus Fiedler. Who is going to emerge victorious as they're getting ready to finish lap 1?
Fiedler all over those anti-cut curbs there at Club as they nail the apex and back onto the start-finish straight. Rui Farina is going to have to deal with Fiedler in his mirrors as they come into turn 1 for the second time. It's not always an overtaking opportunity, but if you make a mistake and run wide on the exit like Farina seems to have done, that checks up Tim Fiedler and allows Jean McLuhan through into the arena. So that is another position up for our number 52. How far is he going to get over the next 42 minutes?
Well, I got to wonder as well, can some of the other drivers, just see exactly what he's doing? It's a fixed setup as well, so certainly there's no, little hidden tweaks here. It is indeed a battle. Certainly, he's the one of 2 Porsches on the grid. Yeah, 1 or 2 Porsches on the grid with Ian Carney currently being up in second place, ladies and gentlemen. Still very much keeping the lead. Drew Trader very much under attack. But right now, these two guys are going hard at it. They almost look like contact there between Trader and Carney.
Yeah, Carney giving Trader the little hurry up. And it seems that there's an option here for the lead, or maybe there isn't. Now he loses the rear into Cops. Oh dear, the Porsche Pendulum engine in the rear of the car. Going through the high-speed corners, you got to make sure that you don't lose too much grip in the rear end, otherwise you're going to go straight around. That's exactly what happened to Ian Carney here. You'll see him turn in, and it just looks like he was a bit too aggressive on the way in there. The car was just overwhelmed, and around he went.
I gotta admit, he did almost hold that. It was pretty damn close, but right now it looks like Rui is going side by side here with Jean McLaughlin. It's Ferrari versus Porsche as they're heading down to the right-hander. Yeah, he's gonna be ahead going in, and he's bottled out of it, actually. Tim Fiedler able to sneak a position by as well.
Well, that's a little bit of a freebie there for Fiedler in the Acura, but that's a bit late on the brakes as well there for Rui Pereira. Goodness me. It looks like this midfield, it's not entirely clear who is the ultimate pace setter as the lap is ticked by there. Drew Trader now enjoying a lead of 1.2 seconds over Kyle Shelton. And actually, now that it seems we have the former second place Porsche out of the picture, now Kyle Shelton is starting to come to the fore, and these two McLarens are beginning to get in touch with Drew Trader at the front. So Ian Carney still managing to hold on to 9th place, and unfortunate for him, but remember, we've still got a long way to go in this race, about 40 minutes to be exact right now. So Carney has time to make his way back up through the field.
Well, not only that, Reese, he's still very much in the part of the draft. He's got about a 7/8 of a second gap to the car ahead, which is Rui Farina. Certainly that Ferrari, I got to admit, it looks beautiful, and I do see a couple of guys representing 4Wide Motorsports, both himself and Carney, on the same team. I've got to say, that's my kind of logic, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, low risk, high reward is one thing I preach, but we'll just say it how it is. I'm a little bit of a hypocrite. Certainly, I do like to make the bold pass. As you see there, Adam Capps now getting passed by Jean McLaughlin.
So Jean already up to 5th, just 5 minutes into this race. Got a bit of time to make up versus Kalman Giori. It looks like there might have been a brief dip from Kyle Shelton. Slight technical issue there for the McLaren running in second, but he's managed to keep it together somewhat. He's starting to fall under pressure from Luis Rios. These guys both running much faster than Drew Trader on the previous lap. 202.4 for Luis Rios. He was the fastest car on track last time by. About to come up to the start-finish line. We'll see what the balance of lap time is here. So it is a 202.7 from Trader, 202.5 from Shelton, and a 201.9 from Rios. Jean McLuhan, of course, the fastest for a moment, and then Ian Carney sets an even faster lap. So we've got those two Porsches trying to work their way back up. We've got those two McLarens that are faster than the leading Corvette, and that is Fiedler that's gone around there in the opening turns.
Well, let's find out exactly what happened, Reece. Certainly cold tires can be a thing. Oh, wicked slide, though. I got to be honest, it was a beauty while he held it. Fair play to him, but definitely not what he had in mind, a Texas driver. Certainly, it was a little bit of a bocking Bronco, that Acura, for that time, and thankfully, no damage occurred.
Yeah, indeed. That's a shame. That's really weird, actually, because I've almost never experienced that kind of oversteer on entry into those corners before. So evidently, it could have just been maybe dragging the brakes a bit too much, or potentially catching the white line on the entry. There's obviously a little less grip available on the white lines than there is on the tarmac itself, even in the dry. But fortunately, Fiedler was able to keep it out of the wall. Carney did as well. Silverstone, a Formula One circuit with expansive runoff. It is also a former World War II airfield, as I mentioned, so it's plenty of flat, wide open space.
Well, what does that tell you, Reese? Is that the Formula One drivers need a bigger runoff now? What does that suggest? We'll just leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly some of them are better than others. A little bit of a pun there, but it looks like John McLaren looking to try and make a move past the 71 of Kalman Gory. Certainly it is Acura versus Porsche. We know that the Porsche has that incredible late braking capacity, as that's exactly what he's going to do. Sends it up on the inside in that MV Sim Sports machine. Question is, can he keep moving himself through the field? Currently, he's lapping at a 2:01.85. Not actually the fastest lap, though. That comes from the other Porsche of Ian Carney.
Yeah, Carney running a little bit wide there out of the final turn. That lap won't officially count for his fastest. Interesting to see that Joseph Darnell has actually not got a fastest lap to his name yet. He seems to have gotten off tracks on every single lap so far. Got to be careful of potential incident limits there in the number 12. And Kyle Shelton, though, getting to second, keeping himself in second, as looks like our race administrator, Adam Capps, has just had a problem up through Village. It looks like a bit of contact, actually, with Ian Carney. So they make their way through the right-hander, and then the left-hander comes up, and he was already offline. He was already struggling, but then Carney saw the opportunity. Probably not enough overlap, though.
Well, let's take a peek at it from Ian Carney's point of view, ladies and gentlemen. So you can see there is Adam Capper just ahead of him. He's definitely a little bit wide there, but certainly on the track, gets a little bit of a slapper going, and I think that may have been a little bit of an opportunistic move, Reese. I'm not entirely sure, but definitely in such a long race, I'm not sure I would have gone with that, but definitely Adam Cap's not what he wanted to have happen, and he is now, he's not quite in no man's land, but he's definitely not where he was. Currently up 2 positions from where he started, though.
Yeah, indeed. It's an all right run in spite of what's gone on. Rui Farina also falling behind the recovering Ian Carney for now in the slipstream of the Porsche. And it's forming a bit of a 3-car battle, but we know from previous laps that Ian Carney has race-leading pace, so he might be able to get a good run on these guys. Gently does it through the exit of Stowe. There's my 1 per broadcast, and now I can get paid.
Oh, he knew what was coming, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, Reese Gardner, very familiar here on Pit Road Productions, and honestly, honored to have him. As you see, Jean McLaren absolutely send it through. But now, Louis Rios is under pressure from Kalman Gory, and it is indeed a Acura versus a McLaren. He looks to put the nose up on the inside, not quite able to get it done. The McLaren able to hold on, but for how long? Kalman Gory looking to make a move up towards the podium.
The Aerokinetics driver, a team that I have been familiar with in other leagues as well, finding his way to the back of the McLaren. See what Rios can do to try and keep him behind. So Kalman was obviously running sort of midfield in qualifying and midfield in the race as well, but his fastest lap in practice was a 2:01.8, so he can certainly pull out a super quick lap when he's on it. So keep an eye out for this Acura as the fuel burns off, as the tires are in their prime phase now. We could be seeing some good laps from him, potentially up another position. Look at the line he takes through Copse, still gaining on the McLaren ahead.
Oh, he's certainly applying the pressure. Is Kalman Gory to the back of Luis Rios, and it looks like they catch up to Jean McLaren and Kyle Shelton as well. Certainly a pack of 4 cars emerging. Drew Trader currently, he's out in front, but not by very far. You can see there just about 2 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. So 2 packs of 2. If they work together, they can certainly try and catch Drew Trader. But actually, speaking of which, let's see if we can catch up with him very quickly. Drew, currently leading the race, not really having too much challenge apart from Ian Carney earlier on. What's your technique to try and manage this situation?
Not let Jean catch me back there.
Oh,
That's the only thing that I got right now, because I see he's coming quick and he's starting from the pits.
Well, definitely, we wish you the best of luck with that. Drew Trader currently rocking an absolutely gorgeous Corvette. Let's hope you can keep it on the track for Transcendent Motorsports.
Thank you, sir.
Well, that is indeed the race leader, and this is the guy he's worried about. Just behind it is Jean McClellan. He's in that 52, that 911 Porsche, and certainly applying pressure. But look behind Reese, we got a three-car battle for P3.
Oh, and I thought for a moment that Kalman Giori was going to run up the inside of Luis Rios at Village, but evidently discretion being the better part of valor in this early stage of the race. We're only just coming up to 1/3 race time, so you don't want to be making silly moves this early on. Maybe on the final lap, stick your nose in there, but Kalman's just biding his time for now, and we'll have to nail the exit of Luffield to set up the run through Cops. But you know, it's a difficult corner to get right as Luffield. You know, I've never been able to get the right exit out of there. Picking it up at the apex is hard because it's blind all the way through the corner. And in fact, there's quite a few corners here that I'd class as blind, Cops being another one of them. I mean, you can see ahead somewhat, but your view can be blocked by the National Pit Wall. At least you can see where you're going through the Beckett's S's.
Well, certainly, it's not on the Princess-approved track list, ladies and gentlemen, so it's fair to say I'm not the man to ask for advice. As you see here, Louis Rios looking to try and capture Kyle Shelton ahead, but currently under pressure from Cameron Gorey behind it. It's McLaren Acura in this battle for P3.
Yeah, battle of the mid-engine cars in this field. We have a mid-engine car leading as well in the Corvette of Trader. I'm still not used to Corvette being mid-engine, but regardless, that be what the C8 do. And Porsche still going with their rear engine layout here as Jean McLuhan is rounding up Drew Trader. 2:01.1 on that lap for Jean McLuhan. Doesn't officially count for the fastest lap because he got an off track, but he has massive pace in that number 52, and Trader is in trouble.
Well, very much he's going to have to work as hard. As you can see here, Jean McLuhan currently rocking about 3.2 thousand iRating. He's certainly the highest ranked driver in the field, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's the fastest, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, a lot of people do not do official races, and understandably so. I do believe something has happened with Joe Darnell, though. Let's take a quick peek and see what's going on.
Yeah, he's back, showing up as wide on my timing, so evidently there was a problem there in the Audi, and oh, it's another problem with the rear end. You know, this being a fixed setup series, the drivers are basically stuck with the balance of the car that they have. They can change brake bias. That is one of the things that you're allowed to change in a fixed setup race. Darnell just letting lapping cars go there. I think that might be Fiedler that he let go. But yeah, that's something that I've noticed for more than one driver in the field. It's just been a case of turning in for those high-speed corners and the rear end not being able to cope. It is a pretty cold racetrack. It's only 22 degrees Celsius out there. You Americans watching can do the Fahrenheit conversion yourself. But regardless, rest assured, it is a cold, sunny British day.
Well, certainly some good battles going on, but Calvin Gorey was able to get by Luis Rios, so don't get me wrong, he's working hard, but Luis Rios still very much involved in that pack as it's a freeway fight, and I'm not too sure if these guys have to run a smaller tank either, but you can see as well there's that battle going on, and still Drew Trader looking to hold on from Jean McClellan.
It seems like McClellan is biding his time for the moment. He hasn't been diving up the inside of Trader like I expected it to. He's taking his time with this, and you know, I'd argue that's scarier than having someone try and put dives on you at every single corner. If they've caught up to you like this and they are sitting behind you, that means that they're planning something.
Well, certainly, here's another tactic, ladies and gentlemen. You can just go for the pass, and then you may be aware that he doesn't want to maybe give the toe to Trader behind. Obviously, Trader's doing pretty well as well, but the old mine punt is indeed another technique. Certainly keeping your driver ahead, occupied with the sheer view of you in that rear view mirror. Actually, let's take a quick peek and see just exactly what kind of view Trader's going to get. There you go. It almost looks like a Halloween Porsche, ladies and gentlemen, as Jean McClellan is very hard on the attack, but I believe Cameron Gorey has yet again got another pass, and let's take a quick look at the replay.
Yeah, Giori up to third place. He's put the two McLarens behind him now, and that is a solid outbraking maneuver out of farm and into the arena. Nice wide section of racetrack as Giori will continue to jet ahead here. He actually set up the move initially there with the move through Cops on Luis Rios, finally getting the job done at one of the fastest corners on this racetrack. So successful run so far for our leading Acura. But those two McLarens are putting the pressure on him. See there, he was breaking the draft a little bit, and it seemed like Kyle Shelton didn't quite get the memo there. So this is going to be an interesting battle for sure. On board with Rios coming out of Stowe down to the next heavy braking zone. You want to try and set up the exit of Club here, so gentle on the brakes, carry the speed through the apex, yes, but it's all about the exit here, and it seems like Giori and Shelton did a slightly better job there.
Yeah, definitely. I've always struggled with that corner in particularly at Silverstone. It's almost... It doesn't follow like a conventional corner line. You're kind of expecting a certain pattern, and it deviates a little bit. And I'm sure there's another word for it, like a compound corner or something like that. But I've got to admit, I'm not far enough through the Almeida Racing Academy yet to go and say, okay, I know how to handle that. But certainly I'm working on it. So certainly if you need some driver training or you're looking to improve, check out Almeida Academy. Ladies and gentlemen, it's FullyAlmeida.com. Definitely worth checking it out for sure if you want to get faster. But right now, this is a man who very much does want to get faster. It's Drew Trader, much under pressure there from Jean McLaughlin, and they pulled away about a 4.7 second gap to the cars behind.
Yeah, I'm noticing through Brooklands there, McLuhan is much more aggressive, and he's really aggressive on the exit of Luffield as well. He is pushing that car to its absolute limits here. He was diving straight to the inside of the left-hander. Trader taking a bit more of a gentle line around here. He's going for that sort of slow in, fast out technique, which can certainly work around Silverstone. In GT3 machinery, I find there's a bit of a difference in technique depending on the kind of driver you are, and it works both ways. For now, our two leaders are working with each other very nicely up the front here, onto the hangar straight, past that little deviation, which is thankfully motorcycles only, and down the one of the oldest parts of this circuit. You know, this place has been around since the late 1940s. Of course, after the Second World War, there were a bunch of airfields lying about in the UK, and they were like, well, by Jove, what are we going to do with them all? Let's race some race cars.
Well, you know what? That is probably the only good thing I feel has ever come out of war. But you know what? I'm all for more racetracks, ladies and gentlemen. Actually looking really forward to Oro Station being built out in Ontario. It's a little bit near Barrie, Ontario, I guess. Don't get me wrong, I did not pass geography, and you can certainly very much tell that if you ask me any kind of geographical question, I'm probably going to tell you the complete opposite. But it's not as bad as people thinking that I'm Australian. Nothing against you there, Reece. Certainly, yeah, they obviously failed geography as well, at least in the dialect department. But certainly these guys having a good race. I deserve that. Having a good race so far. We do have Acura, McLaren, and this is the closest battle we've got on track, unless you want to count the battle going on up front for the lead between Drew Trader and Jean McLaughlin.
McLuhan, I think, did a little fake to the inside coming into the arena section earlier. He's been too... Whoa, that's too quick into Brooklands, and Trader's been turned around. But McLuhan, being a sportsman and waiting for Trader to get going again, redressing the maneuver, that means Kalman Giori now leads the race. And look at this, we have a 5-car battle for the lead.
Well, that is better than any full course yellow I would have predicted, and certainly the temperature just indeed went to the hot setting, ladies and gentlemen. And I recommend putting on some SPF 15 because this is gonna get hot, it's gonna get crispy, and it's fair to say the oven is preheated. Can Kalman Giori get away? He's got about a 1 second lead, but he's got Drew Trader right behind him. Jean McLaughlin's tucked back in third place, and Kyle Shelton, Louis Rios, all looking to capitalize on that. You can see Ian Carney floating in the background. Adam Capps, he's kind of out of touch with this battle as well, but it is indeed going to be a battle for P1 between the top 5 cars.
It seems like McLuhan is a bit shaken by that incident. He was firing it into the corners, but suffering from some understeer in that number 52. And you can tell, just looking at the front bumper, it's a little bit askew. Of course, the damage model incremental on iRacing. So you need to be careful not to get too many of those bumps and dings and what have yous. As they get to the end of the lap, he is still on the attack here versus Drew Trader. Yep, it's in the past, that incident, and now they can get back to racing, which is the reason why they're here. But all of this fighting, allowing Kalmangiori to get out to a 1 second lead with 22 minutes remaining on the clock. Of course, this is a fixed setup series as the Porsche tries up the inside of the Corvette just behind. It's defended by Drew Trader coming into the slowest corner on the circuit, but this is an opportunity for McLuhan to get the over-under. Not quite. Had to worry about Kyle Shelton behind.
Yeah, definitely. He looked like he wanted to make that move and then thought better of it. But let's take a quick look at that replay and see exactly what happened with Jean McLuhan and Joe Trader.
So at this point on the last lap, McLuhan was trying to get it done here, but you see that Trader very wide into Brooklands, and it seems like he compromised his mid-corner speed a bit, and that might have caught McLuhan out.
Yeah, I think, don't get me wrong, I appreciate the sportsmanship, but I probably would have pulled off the curb a little bit there. Thankfully, no further incidents, but I gotta say, it's made for some even better racing for us as McLuhan has managed to take that lead. Oh, that's wide.
And where did he get that done? Oh, yep, rather wide indeed. It was Trader running a bit wide out of Luffield, bit of oversteer, losing traction on the exit, and McLuhan swept through out of Woodcote to finally get past the Corvette. The problem is, he's still in second place.
Well, Drew Trader is going to have somebody else to deal with him now, and that's Kyle Shelton right behind. Luis Rios actually hanging back a little bit, but certainly you want to make sure you stay in that draft. He's about 7/10 of a second behind. He really needs to close up to these guys. If it's not just to make a pass, he can certainly save some fuel, as Jean McLuhan could indeed charge the whole field potentially up to the back of the 71 car of Kalmangiori.
Yeah, with an unfortunate crash and pulling off, and sorry, not pulling off, pulling over to redress the position. The fact that he's still running in second place despite all that just shows the pace he has, and clearly the fastest car on track that past lap, 2:01.7 on the previous lap, taking some 6/10 out of Kalmangiori at the front of this field. And Kalman's probably thinking, man, all I had to do was mind my own business, and I've sort of fallen up the stairs, as it were, now up to the top of the field.
Well, incidents give positions and incidents taketh away. Certainly that's going to be the story of this race. Is Kalmangiori can indeed hold on. He does indeed have that bright green Porsche of John McLuhan right behind him. Drew Trader already dropped 8/10 of a second back. The field's starting to spread out a little bit again. Kyle Shelton about another second back indeed, and Luis Rios has dropped back to 1.5 seconds. So certainly these guys, if they want to stay in with a fight, they've got to kind of bunch it up. But if we have a look back further throughout the field, Tim Fiedler currently about 2.8 seconds behind league admin Adam Capps.
Yeah, and took nearly a second out of him on the previous lap, so maybe keep an eye out for a battle potentially forming for 7th in the next couple of laps. Well, here comes Jean McLuhan, continuing to strut his stuff around here despite a slightly damaged Porsche 911 GT3R. Rounding up the Acura NSX of Kalmangiori, slipstream down the hangar straight, sticking solidly in there, and I'd understand that with the slight damage that McLuhan now has to his front end, probably a bit aerodynamically compromised, and so needs to use the slipstream to catch up. Also, with the current GT3 balance of performance, the 911 isn't the best in a straight line, so need to use that slipstream to keep up.
Well, certainly, I think it does make up for it in the braking zone. That's why I always found it. It's more the GTEs I always found that was more potent for. I'm not quite as sure on the GT3, but certainly that car able to stop in a very short distance. Usually the late braking maneuver is how to get that done. Certainly I remember actually taking part in a series, which was the GTEs, and that RSR, absolutely fantastic noise, but I could never beat it on the brakes. Certainly when I was in the Corvette, the GTE there. Fantastic stuff, but right now Kalmangiori is indeed holding on in that 71 Acura, doing everything he can in the aerokinetics machine. But you see Drew Trader certainly not being left behind at this point. He's doing it. I'm not going to say it. You have gently does it. I have everything he can, and certainly we do indeed need a couple of new catchphrases here on Pit Road Productions.
I thought you had ladies and gentlemen.
That too.
So I might have to find a second catchphrase to keep up with you there.
Oh, boy.
Regardless, battle for the lead. Jean McLean absolutely straight line in that exit of Luffield. He's got this track down pat. Luffield's one of those corners where, you know, you can stick to the inside all the way through, but you can also run wide in the middle to make it a double apex. As Rui Farina in the pits there, and it looks like we are going to have a pit stop in this race here. 17.4 seconds that Rui Farina took there in the pits. Joseph Darnell has also made his way into the pit lane. And oh, there we go. What a move
cheeky.
there at the Beckett's S's. John
That was
McLuhan.
a cheeky move.
Up to the lead of the race. Yeah, up to the lead of the race coming out of Beckett's. He carried the speed through Beckett's, and then the door was just open, and he slipped right through.
That was cheeky. I want another view of that. It was so cheeky.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fair, but whoa, yoink.
Yeah, I think well done to Kalman Giori for seeing that move coming, because if it were me, I would have turned in.
Well, it looks like Drew Trader has decided to come down pit road as well, but I don't think Kalman Gori was quite expecting him, but we got a few drivers in pit road. Kyle Shelton joining him as well. Let's see if we got a better camera for this. Here we go. That's much better. And Louis Rios right in there as well. It looks like Ian Carney snuck in. Adam Capps is sneaking in. It's an incredibly long pit lane. Tim Fiedler looking to come in there as well. We have a little bit of a procession going on as they head down pit lane.
Yeah, true parade down the pit lane at Silverstone.
Uh-oh,
So-
tires, no!
Oh, yeah, that's not going to be ideal. The GT3s, generally, you only take tyres in really long races. A 45-minute event, the tyres are easily going to make it all the way through. Well, it has to be said, tyres and fuel are done at the same time in these cars. So they're able to get out there, and looks like it's worked out well. So, help, scratch that, apparently. Actually, yeah, Drew Trader, Kyle Shelton and Luis Rios, they were the two cars to take tyres. 22 seconds or thereabouts in terms of pit stop time. Trader only spending 15 seconds in the lane, so looks like he's the best placed on gaining time in the pits for now.
Yeah, that definitely was a little bit of a strategy fail there from the guys, but certainly it's made it even more fun as we now have Ian Carney looking to try and recover as he's making a move there up on the inside of Luis Rios. He gets it done. That's one McLaren. Can he go for a second? Certainly Luis Rios looking to answer back. It is right now, it is Team McLaren, but I do remember that Ian Carney does have a teammate in here. I don't think it's Kyle Shelton though. It is not.
Right, so we'll keep our eyes peeled here on how the fight works out as Jean McLuhan, our race leader, makes his way into the pits, followed in by Kalman Giori, and that is the field cleansed. Everyone has come into the pit lane for fuel, and in the case of the McLarens, tyres as well. It seems like Joseph Darnell in the Audi might have taken tyres as well, considering his pit stop time. But yeah, that's the problem. I mean, you know, you do have the advantage of fresh rubber in the second half of the race, and that might give you a bit of extra pace, but it's balanced out by the fact that you have to get those tyres fueled up, and the fact that it takes about 5 seconds longer in the pits to get those tyres fitted.
I gotta admit, the return on investment definitely isn't there from my book, but let's see where Drew Trader's gonna be. Certainly he's out and about, and I do think that they are indeed coming out of pit lane right now. Where are they going to merge in comparison? Oh my gosh, yep, they're gone. They are indeed ahead. So Drew Trader not able to leapfrog him in the pits, but Kalman Gori looking to fight back against the high I-rating driver of Jean McLean. Certainly 3,209 is indeed a formidable I-rating, certainly higher than I've ever achieved and higher than actually a good portion of the population. But definitely he's going to be under attack from the 71 car.
Yeah, and I'm going to request a replay here, Zippy, as these guys get up to speed. Pit exit with McLuhan and Giori. Giori was able to get out of the box a little bit quicker than McLuhan, but there was a little bit of a problem on pit exit. See the green cones there? That's where the pit exit officially is, and that's where you get off the limiter. But have a look at that. He's trying to get up to speed, but McLuhan delayed getting the pit limiter off. I think that might have been a slight error there from the number 52, and it slightly delayed them coming out of pit lane.
Well, certainly that is indeed going to work in the favour of Calvin Gorey, but he's not been able to quite capitalise on that. Jean McLaurin pulling away about a 0.8 of a second gap so far. We're going to return a little bit further back, as right now Ian Carney has managed to slingshot himself up into P4 with Kyle Shelton and Luis Rios right behind him. And it looks like Adam Capps may have got himself someone to play with Rui Franarina right ahead of him, just 0.5 of a second.
Yeah, Rui has dropped back quite a bit, it seems. Fiedler's managed to get past him. And Fiedler also... okay, there we go. Fiedler has also managed to take tyres in the pit lane as well. So here we go then, on board with Caps coming through the Beckett's S's. See what he can do to get past for 8th.
Well, we do actually have him on the communications. Adam, you're in the McLaren against the Ferrari at the 91 of Rui Franarina. Tell us exactly how you're going to try and catch up this driver. What's your plan?
Quit making mistakes is my plan.
Well,
it's been a long race already.
Certainly, it does indeed to be a
I let them
spicy
both
field
get
so
by.
far.
I forgot to uncheck my tires, and I made a mistake on cold tires there and let both him and Tim get by me.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, actually quite a few of you guys choosing to take the tyres, so maybe a learning experience for a few of you, but certainly the good thing is it has indeed increased the quality of the racing. More battles happening on track. You've currently got the battle between yourself and Rui going on, and then you have a three-way battle for P3 right now, but we're going to leave you to it. Adam, good luck in the race.
Thank you.
Well, certainly he's a man.
Acting as spotter for Adam Capps there as well.
Yeah, very much under pressure. You see Rui Ferreira not quite got the line he wanted, and was that the opportunity the Caps need? Not quite. He looked to have a little bit of a sniff, but not quite able to get the move done. The battle continues as we're on lap 17 with about 10 minutes left to go.
So ultimate pace for Caps is a 2:03.6. Rui Farina only able to manage low 2:04s at best. So Caps is the one with the advantage here. And oh, there was almost room for a move there at Brooklands, but running a little bit wide there was Adam, and he'll have to reset and have another go later in the ever-eternal McLaren versus Ferrari battle. So check back in with our leaders and our top 3 and the battle for 4th. Ian Carney finding himself back up to 4th place, and I don't know if Carney's going to be too happy with how this race has turned out for him. Obviously he had the pace to lead, but things just went wrong for him on the way through. He had a quick pit stop, one of the quicker ones outside the top 3, but he would have been hoping for a little bit better than 4th at the moment, getting pressured now by Shelton and Rios, whose tyres have switched on now.
Yeah, definitely the cold tyres is something you have to keep in mind, especially on the new GTP tyre model. It's, for lack of better words, brutal. Certainly a lot of drivers actually stepping away from the GTP, just finding it a little bit too much. Some people loving it. Some people, like myself, would see that as an opportunity to maybe get a couple of free positions by attrition. But honestly, I've been staying away from it and actually putting myself back in the GT3 as Adam Capps is now looking to try and go side by side with the Ferrari of Rui Franarina.
Down the start-finish straight we come, and Caps will try to open up the exit here, but it looks like Pereira was the one who was able to get those apexes set up very nicely. Caps, I think, maybe losing track of his markers for a moment there, but could see the move here at Village. Oh, forces Pereira to go wide there, caught out the Ferrari, late on the brakes, and slips on through to 8th.
Let's take another look at that race from another point of view. You can see there's Caps on the inside. Fiera's gone a little bit wide, and I think he just wore him down, honestly. I think it's just enough that he maybe did the old mind pun technique and able to slingshot himself back up into 8th place.
Yeah, you stick the nose out, the driver in front sees you in their mirrors, and there's potential for them to get spooked, and that's pretty much what Caps was hoping for at that point. Well, now the battle for 4th is a battle for 5th between the two McLarens of Kyle Shelton and Luis Rios. These two have certainly been keeping each other very close company over the course of this race. We are within 8 minutes to go as well, so now the clock is ticking.
That was
Super close at the apex of Stowe. Yeah, seems like Rios certainly more comfortable with carrying speed into these fast corners, but Shelton is still ahead and seems focusing a bit more on the exits here.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was it wasn't a brake check, but certainly Rios had to definitely smash that middle pedal a little bit harder than he intended necessarily, but definitely applying the pressure, but keeping it clean. I'll say that's an absolutely fantastic job there. It's what you got to do. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he may have 0 incident points as well, but don't quote me on that. Certainly, Reese, maybe you've got a better source of information for that, but doing a very tidy job in that McLaren so far.
I am not a race admin, so I cannot see how many incident points these guys have. But I will say that at Silverstone, it is very easy to pick up those incident points. I mean, around the circuit, basically the marker for track limits is the edge of those black and white curbs. If you got 2 tires on those, then usually you're pretty good. There are some exceptions though. There's a whole tab in the iRacing sim explaining what the track limits are at each corner. At corners like Luffield, as long as you have 2 tires on the curb, you're fine. Woodcote there, you can cut completely, but a lot of these corners up the back half of the circuit, you have to keep at least half the car over the curbing. If you run beyond half a car over, then that is an off track. So those little strips of green concrete you see at the apexes there, they're your markers. Don't run too far over them.
Well, there's a good demonstration there from Kyle Shelton. You can see he's using as much of the track as he feels he can get away with. But Ian Carney starting to get a little bit closer to him. Actually, if you have a look at the last lap, Shelton was actually a little bit slower by about 5 tenths, but I'm starting to think something's been a little bit of a disagreement in the mix there, because don't get me wrong, Shelton has really turned these tires on right now. He's pulled away very heavily from Rios, who is literally fighting him neck and neck, and he's right back on the bumper of the 54 car. So, as I say that, oh dear.
No. You see, what on earth happened to Kyle Shelton? Okay, so he pulls straight off the circuit there. Maybe a real-life emergency? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to see what happened there. If we watch on board, that's like he lost pedals. Oh.
Yeah, interesting. So maybe a hardware failure for Kyle Shelton.
That's interesting.
Huh.
I mean, he's still in 5th gear.
Can't say that. Oh, okay. So it looks like he's gotten going again. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. We might have to ask Shelton after the fact what happened. Potentially, you know, sometimes it can just be stuff happening in the real world outside the sim. You know, if you got a family member that needs help with something, or you know, or a cat maybe scratching your leg or something like that, then that might be your opportunity. Pull off by the side of the circuit, take care of the issue, and get back going again. Regardless, it seems that Shelton is now well out of the battle for 5th place, and not much chance of him regaining that, as we have 3 minutes and 40 seconds remaining on the clock right now, and everyone is more than a second apart. So basically, Zippy, we are counting on someone making a mistake here to see any battles to the end.
Well, it did remind me of a story, and I don't know if you've heard this one, Reese, but I can remember doing a show with a certain individual, and he has 2 dogs. They're on the littler side, but anyway, this bird appeared to have flown into his garden, and anyway, the dog had found the bird, and it's fair to say that the bird was not consenting to such experiences. It was very much a little bit hard and beaten. And anyway, the kind of thing to do was to, you know, have the bird go out on its own terms, you know, peacefully, respectfully. So in the end, he ended up being in the middle of a broadcast where he's like, okay, you're right, I've got to go deal with this bird. So literally, he steps away from the rig. He'd let the office know down the road that you're going to hear a gunshot, and for lack of better words, he flipped the bird.
Okay.
Can't say that I've ever had another
Interesting.
broadcast where wildlife was killed during the show.
Yeah.
One way of doing it, ladies and gentlemen. That's welcome.
That is.
Welcome to a different perspective, I guess.
Yeah, that is new. Well, that'll be something to ruminate on for a bit. We are going to be getting white flag on this lap. Lap around here taking about 2 minutes and 2 seconds. There's 2 minutes and 10 seconds remaining on the clock as Jean McLuhan is only getting onto the hangar straight right now. So we are going to be getting white flag this time by, and the race will end in a couple of minutes. It has been a good drive from McLuhan. Yes, there's been that one mistake with Drew Trader, but other than that, it has been a perfectly executed drive here from the man who ran the fastest lap in qualifying.
Definitely he's got pace, but I do think we're going to have to try and find him some more competition. So if you think, you know what, I can beat that guy, by all means, we'll help you get set up to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, just give us a message. We'll point you in the direction of Adam Capps. He'd love to get you in the league. Certainly, it's very much a good load of banter here. Certainly, it was suggested that we could indeed have even less of a filter than we normally would. And I thought about it. We were going to put it on our other channel, but looking to be a little bit more somewhat tolerable behavior for now, ladies and gentlemen. As there you go, Reese. As you can see here, Jean McLuhan looking to take that flag just any moment now.
Yep, indeed. Here we go then. Out of the loop and through the Wellington Straight. Bringing your speed up, focus once again on the run into Brooklands. And McLuhan has been one of the quicker cars on the way into this corner. So important to carry the speed because you've got Luffield right after. You don't have to worry about compromising your line into the next corner because it's basically an entire complex by itself all the way across the curb. On the way out of Luffield, cut across the curb on the inside of Woodcote. This would be checkered flag if it was a pre-2011 Formula One Grand Prix, but got to make your way through Copse, through the fearsome Beckett's S's, and through Stowe in order to get to the end of the lap. It's been a solid drive from McLuhan. Doesn't have the quickest pit stop of all. That, in fact, belongs to Kalman Giori with 11.8 seconds stopped in the box. Giori certainly could have had a chance at winning this one, but McLuhan's consistency and pace has just been a bit too much for everyone else to overcome. This number 52 Porsche also getting a fast repair done in the pits as well, so that front bumper is certainly fixed. And now one more braking zone to go. All you got to do is look for your markers there on driver's right. Not quite clambering over the curb, but sitting there at the apex very nicely, and the win will be in sight here for Jean McLuhan, who wins round 7 of the Niftylift Sportscar Series in commanding fashion here at Silverstone.
Well, I just want to see exactly what happened here. There's something going on with Ian Carney, and I'm not entirely sure why. And it's telling me that he's passed. Actually, a few people have passed, but I'm not exactly sure what's going on with Ian Carney. So let's take a quick peek. I believe he's disconnected. Interesting. Bad time to have a hardware failure.
Yeah, that's not ideal there. I'm keeping an eye on it myself. He turns in for the Beckett's S's and brakes for Beckett's, and I think he might have just had like a game crash or something. That seems to be what's happened there. Not so much losing connection. However, the fact that we don't have any driver has left message just yet means that it could either be an internet problem. Yeah, it is an internet problem. Just received that upload packet loss message, the dreaded, as it were, if you're a driver on iRacing. So that's a shame there for Ian Carney. Would have had a solid finish and was one of the paciest drivers out there today. But that's going to conclude runnings here, as it looks like we may still be waiting on Joseph Darnell to cross the line here. He's touring on his way to the start-finish line in that Audi. And
I just lost you for a second there, Reese. But Joe Darnell in that absolutely gorgeous Audi, the yellow, black, and red and yellow. Yeah, yellow, black, and red livery there, as he does indeed across the line. Definitely not the night he was looking for, but certainly the Audi has been known to be a little bit of a handful of times, so fair play to him. And again, the fixed setup can indeed, it can provide an extra set of challenges.
Yeah, certainly. Sorry, I'm not too sure what happened there. I think, I was suffering internet issues at the same time as Ian Carney, but that's going to round things off here for round 7 of the Niftylift Sportscar Series, and we can get our results on board here. Jean McLuhan winning the race, with Kalman Giori finishing second and Drew Trader rounding out your top 3. Luis Rios, Tim Fiedler, Kyle Shelton, Adam Capps, and Rui Pereira the rest of your finishers. Unfortunately, Ian Carney was unable to get to the end, and Joe Darnell did cross the line, but unfortunately a lap down on the rest of the field.
Well, definitely some fun stuff here, but we have been able to catch up with the second place finisher, Cameron Gorey. Reese, you're standing by.
Yeah, indeed. Second place on the road here for you, Calman. You must be very happy with that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I know Drew was racing pretty hard up there in the lead, and he got spun out. It was going to be tough to catch him either way. But yeah, I'm happy with that finish.
As you should be. The Acura proved to be a bit of a tough customer. We had Tim Fiedler have some trouble with the rear end. In fact, a lot of the drivers had trouble with the rear in the fast corners early on in the stint. Were you feeling the same thing?
No, I was. Tim said he had some brake issues and stuff that he was trying to work out, but no, I didn't have any issues. I was just trying to keep consistent lap times and keep the car smooth on the track, right? Maintain my traction basically the whole race. So.
Well, maintain traction you did. We go to Fuji next week. It's far cry from Silverstone, especially in the final sector. What are you expecting from that?
Well, the elevation changes and stuff are going to be a little bit different. I do like the flat tracks, so I'll probably need to get out and get a little bit of practice on it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just going to be a good race.
Well, podium here at Silverstone for Aerokinetics. Is there anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Niftylift, man, I really appreciate them sponsoring this series. And then, of course, Aerokinetics race team. They're doing really well in their, in all the leagues that they're racing in. So, I appreciate everybody for putting the race on.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Kalman Giori, and hopefully we're chatting to you again this time next week.
Yep, thank you.
Well, that's going to round things off for our first driver interview, Zippy. It looks like you've caught up with Drew Trader.
Well, Drew, definitely a very challenging race indeed, sir. You had your work cut out. It started going so well. Definitely getting into a couple of little bits of icy-dicey, but tell us a little bit how you feel about taking home the third place.
I mean, I'm agitated that I got spun, but P3's P3. At least I still brought it home on the podium. I just wish it would have been better. Probably at least P2. I don't understand why I was being raced by a guy that was lights out faster than me, but it is what it is. Still ahead by 3 points in the championship with 5 races to go. Or 6 races to go. I don't know how many races we have left. It's been already a long season. But just keep working at it. We go Fuji next week, so put in some work, try to keep my points lead where it is, and hopefully come home better than what I did tonight.
Well, definitely Silverstone is indeed a very challenging track and very fast track as well. Certainly Fuji is indeed, it's going to be a different set of challenges. Certainly there's a couple of corners there where you've really got to get very greedy with the track limits, and certainly some very slow rotation corners as well. But Drew, before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to shout out?
Just my team, Transcendent Motorsports, and my graphic design business, Transcendent Designs, along with Adam Capps and Niftylift, Elite Entertainment. Everybody helps put on this show. You guys now. I'm going to go back and watch the broadcast after this. Just from what I was watching of the intros and whatnot, already looked stellar, so I can't wait to actually watch the full thing.
Oh, huge thanks to you there, Drew. Certainly, by all means, put it on your social media, put it on your Facebook, and absolutely share the living stuff out of it. We would definitely like to see a few more subscribers, and indeed, even more people watching us work the magic here in the booth. But Drew Trader, congratulations on third place.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well, we are going to have one final interview. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be with the league organizer, Adam Capps. Now, Adam, we're not going to talk about your racing on this scenario. Definitely not the result that you were looking for. So we will spare you that. But tell us a little bit about the Niftylift Sportscar Series.
Hey, I don't even know where to start with that. You guys did really. I was watching the broadcast earlier, so the introduction of it, the readouts, that's pretty much about Niftylift there and Elite Entertainment, our sponsors, and really appreciative of you guys coming on board for this and starting this. Hopefully we can start doing some more recruiting now that we got a solid broadcast in place. I think that's what we were missing to start our growth a little more, because we just started 6 weeks ago and it was kind of like a last minute thing. Drew and I and a few of the other guys, we were just, tired of the regular. We came from oval leagues and we were like, hey, let's start a GT3 league. So that's how it all came together. I reached out to John at Niftylift and he was like, yeah, I'll throw some money your way to start this up and get it rolling. So appreciate John Headland over there throwing us the money for the broadcasts, and then Elite Entertainment for throwing the money for the winners of the race and the championship at the end of the year.
Well, definitely fantastic stuff there. But Adam, just for anybody watching at home, what's going to be the best way for them to reach you if they want to start getting involved in this fantastic emerging championship?
I guess the Facebook. We have a Facebook page, and then I try to put it in the iRacing leagues a lot. I'll throw some more out this week, hopefully some advertisement, and I'll throw the broadcast link so they can kind of see what we're about now that we have this. So that's kind of an extra advertisement that we can use in the iRacing leagues on Facebook, so we can hopefully draw some more people.
Well, definitely myself, I'm not much of an artist, but certainly we'd like to help you try and recruit a few more. So by all means, check them out as well on Facebook. And by all means, share this video on Facebook. We'd love to see even more of you joining us. But ladies and gentlemen, I think that's just going to about wrap it up from us. Reese, if you'd like to do the honors.
Absolutely. Big thanks to everyone who tuned in live for this broadcast. And if you're watching on the VOD later, hello to you too. Thanks very much for watching. Here on Pit Road Productions, of course, we've got plenty of shows towards the end of the week, starting off, of course, with the No Limit Racing Late Model Dirt Oval Series, which is going to be happening tomorrow. Zippy and I will be on the call for that one, hoping that you can join us for that, for some ripping dirt racing. But for GT3, man, it's certainly worked out really nicely here in the Niftylift Sportscar Series. Thanks very much once again to Niftylift and Elite Entertainment for your support of this series, and to all the drivers and the league administrators for having us on here at Pit Road Productions to bring the show to the world. I'm Reese Gardner, Daniel Zippy Salmon alongside me in the comms box and producing behind the scenes. We'll see you all next time.